Hey, I am Stacy from stacystjohn.com,
And I'm Valerie from quilldecor.com.
and we are here to help you better your B&B.
That's right. This is our weekly show where we do a review of one property's interiors and listing in 15 minutes or less. Who are we going to talk about today? Whose
Well,
property, I should say?
today we are talking about Chris's property, and Chris is located in Florida, Panama City Beach to be exact. I'm starting this timer, Val. Here we
Okay,
go.
let's do it. So Chris, I think Chris is in Florida, but I think this property is in Panama City and he lives in St. Petersburg, says
Ah,
his profile. Okay, so Chris, your property in Panama City, you asked for feedback specifically around the living room, and we're going to jump right in with some photos of the interiors.
hey, Val, real quick before
Hey,
we
yeah.
do that, what do you think about those first five photos, the
Oh,
back
yeah, let's do this.
five?
I think they're pretty good. It shows a nice variety of pictures, with only one from inside the space, but I think they're okay. What do you think?
Eh.
I think that this photo is weird.
I,
This
I
this one
think,
is especially strange. You're not really showing anything there.
yeah. So, a couple of things that jump out at me is I was definitely confused by that picture.
Yeah.
Maybe if we're going to show the outdoor space, we need to have a better photo specifically so I understand what I'm seeing because it's very,
Mhm.
again, it's confusing.
Needs to be zoomed
Um,
out.
Also, the bottom right hand photo, again, it just looks like I'm looking at a wooden boardwalk. I realize that's to the beach, but I don't have a sense of is that right outside the front door? Is it in the city? I don't know that that's really getting you anything, Chris. So I would probably swap out at least two of those photos.
Okay. So the living room specifically we'll talk about, but I think Chris, this property is pretty dated. Um, I'm not sure if you own this property or if you just manage this property, but if it were mine, I think I would look at numbers. I think if I managed or owned this property, I would look at what my competition is specifically in Panama City. What is the top number I think I can yield for a property like this? And then I would work back from there with planning how much money I would want to invest in the interiors and how quickly I would want to recoup that investment. How do you feel
Yeah,
about that, Stacey?
absolutely. I mean, I know in my markets, I specifically focus on having properties in my portfolio that fit a certain aesthetic. And because of that, we're able to outperform the rest of the market, quite significantly. So there is something to be said for investing in making your property stand out from a design perspective. And I think that there are lots of opportunities here, although Val, you are the professional designer.
It doesn't take a professional designer to look at this and say that it needs a complete overhaul, but um, it isn't. I think that in this market, this might appeal to a certain audience, and it might be okay for a certain price point, and that maybe that's fine. So I think the question is, what do you want out of this property? Do you want to increase the nightly rate and increase the bookings? And if so, then I would look at it from a just a whole project strategic standpoint of how to invest the right number into this property and to be really smart about how quickly you can make a turn on that investment. So I'll kind of go through some of the pictures and talk about some specifics. Um, but Yeah, I think that keep that in mind that I think this property has some pretty dated pieces that are a bit of a hodgepodge. And I think that's probably what stands out to me the most. Like I'll look at this room. Things shouldn't be matchy per se, but the things in this room do not relate in any way. And they just feel like a yard sale,
Yeah,
right? Like
true that.
this little TV stand doesn't relate to anything else in here. And then these match, but the chair feels like a dining room chair from somewhere in the Midwest. The beige suede with all the cool tones. Like it just none of this really
Oh,
makes sense. It doesn't feel put together or thoughtful. It feels like a hodgepodge or a mismatch of leftover furniture that was just kind of put in
yeah. And
to the
and
property.
Val, I'm curious, what do you think about those red curtains?
I want to burn those red curtains. I didn't, you weren't expecting me to say that on
Um,
camera. I mean,
I
on the recording.
well,
Yeah, they don't make any sense either. They have no business being in a beach property and they don't make sense in this room, but nothing in this room makes sense to me together. And so I feel like the red curtains were like the least of my concerns. I didn't even notice them initially, actually, because I was so focused on the fact that the rest of the room just doesn't quite.
can I also mention a couple of other things about this room that make
Yeah.
me scratch my head? If you look at the dresser, it looks like there is a decorative sign hanging from the dresser. Okay?
Yeah.
So, first of all, don't do that because you that's either a ripe opportunity for that sign to fall off and fall on someone's foot, or it's an opportunity for your dresser to get all scratched up. It just feels very strange.
It's not in this
Um,
picture over here. So yeah, but it does. It's weird.
yeah. Okay. So then the other thing, I'm going to sound bad for a minute. The picture on the TV that is clearly photoshopped in by your photography editor.
Oh, you think so?
Yes, I do.
Oh, really?
I totally think that because it's also on the initial photo
Oh,
um,
it's the same one.
in the family room.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Same
yeah.
same damn picture. Oops, I just said damn. Oops. Sorry, you two people.
Scratch it. Scratch it. Start
OMG, I cussed. But yeah, that you know what? That makes me feel like I am a number when I'm looking at it. Like it doesn't feel authentic. What I
Yeah.
would suggest is if these are smart TVs, actually turn on the TV and show all the apps. So by looking at that photo, I know that there are smart TVs in the rooms. Um,
Yeah.
I would
Mhm.
definitely
Mhm.
recommend that versus putting the same picture of the Caribbean. I mean, that is not Panama City Beach.
Nope.
If you're going to put a picture, put Panama City Beach.
Which is beautiful and has aqua
It's
water, but that's
gorgeous.
probably not it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that is not Panama City.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, Chris, you can please send me a message and let me know, but I don't think that's Panama City.
So the other thing about this room is it's a bit weird that the beds aren't the same if you're going to have beds in a room. I mean, I like that they're the same color and the same bed bedspread and the duster. But yeah, this
Yeah.
I don't love that, and the art is very dated, and I this chair, like these pillows and this chair are not friends. They are not friends. And in fact, I think they should all go away and we should just that should not be there.
Okay. Can you go back to that picture too where it showed the two beds? I'm going to say this, and it might not be received very well by some people. Okay, but whoever did this photography should be fired because we should never have a dust ruffle around a bed that is crooked. Like that is the photographer's job to make the space look beautiful. I am so bothered by the fact that on the bed on the left, you see how it's like, no. So, Chris, I would ask for a refund from the photographer or ask them to reshoot it at the very least. Sorry.
Yeah, and the other thing about photography is wide angle lenses should be reserved for realtor photos and not short-term rental listings. And the reason is I'm trying to understand what my experience in this house is going to be. I'm not going to buy it. I don't want this bed to look like it's a king size bed when in reality it's a queen size bed. This photo, it looks like a king.
Yep.
And it's because a wide angle lens was over here in the corner. We don't need wide angle lens photos in short term rentals. We are selling an experience, not a piece of property.
Yep. Good
Yeah.
call. I also wonder if that room were to be, updated Val, would you, I love me some white furniture. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong, but it feels
yeah.
like a lot of white. Like, would you add additional wood pieces or different?
I don't
Um,
even know how to comment on that because I feel like I need to redo this whole place. Call me
okay.
Chris if you want some help.
All right, Chris,
I
call Val.
Yeah, I just feel like this whole place needs a complete audit and everything needs to be rethought. And again, the level at which you rethink things and invest in things needs to come very intentionally from what you feel like you can get out of the property. So I'm not saying throw all this furniture away and start over. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying what can you get from this property, and let's take it, let's meet that level with overhauling the space to improve it and make it more appealing to a wider audience and to a younger audience, by making it feel more up to date, more interesting, less dated, and do that in a smart way.
And
I
so,
hope that all makes
Val, are you implying that there is strategy behind designing a space?
Yeah, I think that is the common misconception, is that the designer wants to just come in and be like, we're just gonna make it pretty, make it rain, give me all your money. But I think a good designer, and especially a good short-term rental designer, is going to come in and say, we're going to think about this with our left and our right brain. We are going to look at spreadsheets. Yes, I can be creative and I can be strategic. And if your designer doesn't know how to do that, then you better be the one training her, like, well, okay, but this is the amount of money and you better know your numbers really well and you can relay that information. So if she can't or he can't do that, make sure that you know your numbers really well, but not just, you don't just want to throw money at properties. This is a business, and it should be thought of course, strategically and financially.
Yeah.
This, we're not a hobby. We want to make
And,
sure we're getting a return on the investment.
and Val, I think the other thing to point out about that topic that you just mentioned is neither Val or I know whether you own this property, Chris, or if you're hosting this for someone else. But if you are hosting it for someone else, I feel like, and I'm a licensed property manager, I co host for other people as well. It is our duty and responsibility to educate our owners. If we see that there is a gap in what this property is bringing in and what it could be bringing in from a financial perspective, I feel like it's our duty to share that with the owner and say, hey, here are the things that I'm seeing how we could have your property performing better in the market. And at least for me in my business, I choose to work with owners who invest in their properties, right? If and Chris, you could decide what your own parameters are, who you want to work with, but I think it's also really important to call that out because we might have people watching Val who might be managing for someone else
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
they might want to redo a property and their owner doesn't. I just want you
yeah.
to know it's okay for you to determine who your owners are that you want to be working with.
Well, I think that's probably a really common frustration as you're getting started with a management business, is because you don't feel like you can turn away properties necessarily because you're trying to build a portfolio and actually build a business. So, do you have any quick pointers or tips, Stacy, for how to get over that hump of, okay, I know I had to take on this property. It doesn't reflect the brand that I'd like to carry forward, but right now I just need properties to kind of sink my teeth into and get my feet wet. So what is your suggestion for kind of how to bridge that gap?
Well, this probably goes against the grain with what a lot of people might say, but I have been very strict with the owners that I work with. And I have turned down a lot of owners who have come to me and asking me to manage their property because it doesn't fit into my overall brand portfolio. Um,
Are those the words that you use with
uh-huh,
those
yeah.
posts? Okay.
Yeah, and my owners also know that I can help them rehab and
Hmm.
furnish and decorate their property. So
Hmm.
it presents an opportunity for us to still work together if they're open to that. If they are not open to that, a couple of things could happen. I could still choose to host that property, but not have it on my what I would call regular superhost Airbnb profile. So I would manage it under a separate profile and we would have to build that listing from the ground up. And that super host profile is reserved for the properties that are going to be top performers, if that makes sense. And I also, if I chose to take on that client as a co host client, I also would not be featuring that on my own direct booking website. There is a standard that I have set for my clients where,
Mhm.
in order to be featured on our website, again, your property has to have a quality level and standard that aligns with our brand. And that may or may not be a good fit. And if neither of those options are a good fit, then I politely and gladly refer them to someone else who can help them, right?
Yeah, that's really smart. So it can still be something that you manage and it can still make you some profit, but it isn't folded into this umbrella of your brand on your main site under your same. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, and
Thank you so much, Chris. I mean, I feel like we've kind of gone off on a different tangent than normal for this one, but this is really valuable and important information. So I think really fun to talk about that.
Chris, we're sorry if we offended you.
I think Chris is a professional in this business and
I
that
love that.
he or she Chris, we're assuming you are the Chris of Chris and Mel, that Chris is the guy. Either way, Chris, you're fabulous. Thank you for submitting your listing. We so appreciate you contributing to our show, and we just want to thank you for putting yourself out there and letting us look at your place. I'm sure you're doing a terrific job at being a super host.
And if you want to have your listing reviewed on the show, all you have to do is apply on our website. So go to betteryourbnb.com and fill out a super simple form.
And also, if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe so that you get notification every time we release a new episode. Thanks so much for coming. I am Valerie Malone.
And I am Stacy St. John. Happy
Until next time,
hosting.
happy hosting. Bye.